You notice my Shonda Rhimes photo here? That's my secret pic, Shonda Rhimes.
Oh my
Rarely
goodness.
do you get a picture with Shonda Rhimes. Oh, and then my team
Oh,
photo. Oh, I
amazing.
cut off the team photo. The team photo is up there. Oh, I
Is
should
that
do
the
that. I
holiday
should
one?
show it. Yes, that's the one we're going to send out if we haven't posted, but I'm
Oh,
going to send
very
out
cute.
with our uterus hat.
Oh yes, it's getting posted later this week, so be on
Oh,
the lookout.
good. Yeah, because I
I
was like,
love
we
that.
should send out a holiday photo, and this would be our
Yes.
holiday photo, plus our patient care advisors, of course, and our amazing interns.
Oh, thank you. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening. Happy early holidays. Very exciting time of the year. I know it feels a little dampered, but that doesn't mean you can't celebrate. So, we have a really exciting conversation happening tonight. I know I'm excited because we're covering three topics that I would like to learn more about. We'll be talking about SCOTUS and birth control, what happens when you miss a day of birth control, and tips for managing weight loss on birth control, and then also just during the pandemic because weight seems to fluctuate during times of stress. And of course, I am joined by the lovely Dr. Sophia Yen, MD, MPH, CEO, and co-founder. I'm writing it so much and I'm like, yes, I got it down because you should say your titles 100%. So I love
Claim
it.
your titles, my mom has always taught me. And in
Mm-hmm.
light of the stupid Wall Street Journal opinion
Oh,
piece, Dr. Jill Biden deserves her title, doctor.
yes,
Never be afraid to
100%.
claim your titles, ladies.
Yes, so true. I love it. All right. So, first topic that we're going to go over is what's going on with SCOTUS right now. And it's funny that this is the topic of conversation because I was watching the news today and just watching kind of a recap of everything that's going on, that's gone on in 2020. And I was thinking, like, this kind of flew under the radar for a little bit. And it's sad that it did, but I can understand with everything else going on. So, what is going on?
So, as you know, the Republican-dominated Senate confirmed Amy Coney Barrett, and she is crazy conservative and has belonged to different organizations that have said a woman should subject herself to her husband, and that in general, those conservative Republicans don't support that birth control is covered by insurance. And so, I like to say that that it should be covered, because birth control is just a part of healthcare, and that contraception should not be separated, segregated, treated any different from any other part of healthcare, and that 70% of women who take the birth control pill take it for reasons other than birth control, in addition to birth control. So it could be for bad, evil periods that you're missing work. It could be for polycystic ovarian syndrome. It could be endometriosis. It could be that if your hormones are stable, it's better for depression, seizure disorders, asthma, pretty much any health condition, diabetes, where you want to keep stuff stable rather than up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down, which is without the birth control pill, patch, or ring. And so, one, none of your business, but two, if you're going to cover stuff, cover this. And then lastly, one of my favorite phrases is that it's fiscally right and morally right, fiscally smart and morally right to cover birth control. Because for every dollar the government spends, it saves 7. And it's just pure math. You spend $1 on birth control and you don't have to pay for an $800, $1,500 abortion or 10,000 vaginal delivery or 40,000 C-section, not including pre and postnatal care, all the OB-GYN visits, all the blood tests, and then the impact on a family's life of an unwanted, unplanned pregnancy.
It's not just 9 months.
It's
It's a
18
life.
35 years.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So in terms of what's going on right now, is that kind of, I know there was things going on with the Affordable Care Act. What
Yes.
was the final outcome with that?
Yeah, so they are reviewing it, and they're
Okay.
hinting that they wouldn't reverse the Affordable Care Act because, as we believe, Chief Justice Roberts wants to not leave the legacy that he's the one that destroyed the Affordable Care Act, because it has been a wonderful thing for everybody, regardless of your party, to have basic health care. And the more we can expand healthcare, the better. However, the Republican Party is more conservative and would rather you take care of yourself, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and doesn't realize that people lose jobs and that it isn't ideal that our health insurance is tied to our jobs, especially with COVID and people losing their jobs. Then they have no health care, and it's just adding insult to injury. Not only do you not have a job, but now if you get sick, you will get some giant bill from the emergency room, and you're avoiding the emergency room. You're avoiding getting treatment, avoiding protecting others from your infection or getting your infection such that you end up in the ICU when we could treat it when it was earlier. So there's just so many reasons for universal health care. And the way we get there is through the Affordable Care Act and then adding on, extras as we go along the way. So we don't think that they'll necessarily reverse it. But if you want to be absolutely safe, we've written a couple articles, run, don't walk to go get your IUD or implant if you're thinking about trying those things. Because if they do reverse it, or some other weird thing comes up and they go, oh, your employer doesn't have to cover it if it's against their religion. And again, I don't see how any corporation has a religion. It doesn't have a soul. It doesn't go to church. It's not going to go to heaven or hell. Certainly an individual, but I think then it's up to the individual to decide, but not a corporation, which has none of that, to impose itself on you. But if they reverse the Affordable Care Act, if they decide and continue to support, which they have, like Hobby Lobby, that if your employer decides they have a religious or moral objection, they don't have to cover it, then it could be a ton of money out of your pocket. Whereas right now it's covered. And so the event to help with, if this is of a concern to you, which I hope it is there is a runoff election in Georgia on January 5th.
Yes.
So you can make phone calls, you can write postcards, just help, get out the vote and realize that if the Democrats pick up 2 seats, then the Senate will be in balance and the tiebreaker will be the Democratic vice president, and that they could add more members to the Supreme Court. That would be my interest, because right now there's three Democrats and 6 Republicans, or 6 conservatives and 3 that would support, birth control, the right to abortion, the right for those with uteri to decide what happens to their bodies, and just more supportive, liberal kind of policies. 3 to 6 is not balanced. And we can achieve that balance if we can get the Senate to be tipped a certain way.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So vote if you live in Georgia. If you don't live in Georgia, that's also okay. But there are some things
the
you can
vote,
do.
volunteer, dial, call, donate.
Phone banking isn't so bad. Even if you hate talking on the phone, you can do it. It's a few seconds. It's not so bad. Yeah, okay, that's really good to know. So run, don't walk. If you want to get your IUD, get it soon. And you can order up to a year's worth supply of birth control. Okay.
You can get up to a year's worth of birth control at a time. There's 17 states which actually require the insurance to cover it. But as I can tell you, many of the insurances aren't following the law. And it's unfortunate that you as a consumer have to call the insurance company and say, hey, my state allows a year's supply at a time. Why don't you give it to me? And then also your prescriber has to write it that way. So at Pandia Health, we always give you a year's supply at a time. And we try to educate physicians. And it may be up to you to educate your prescriber, your physician. You can write a year's supply. And if the insurance covers less, they can always constrict it. But a pharmacy cannot expand the prescription that the prescriber writes. So it's up to you, the consumer, to educate your prescriber.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And if you have questions on that, you can check out our FAQ on the website. I know there's a whole section on like insurance and birth control. And I believe there's an article on it as well, what insurance covers what and all of that. So yeah, check out the website. So on a similar topic, in terms of birth control, what happens to your body when you miss your pill? Because it happens. We're all human, and we hope that it doesn't happen, but it does. So what happens?
I would say it happens to a lot of people, at least once a month. And as I get older and there's less likelihood of me getting pregnant, I'm a little more, about it. But when I was 20, I was, all over it. But so the example I give specifically is I take my pill at night and I'll go down and I'll be like, wait, it's Tuesday. I didn't take Monday. And so if your pill is due and you didn't take the previous day, just take 2 pills and you'll be caught up. If you usually take it at night and you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh crap, I didn't take my pill. it's best to take it as soon as you remember it rather than double up, because the less time longer between pills, ideally is 24 hours between pills, and then everything longer is more dangerous. So you don't want to wait until your next pill's due, because then you've 24 hours later it. But if you remember it 3 hours later, 5 hours later, 8 hours later, take it as soon as you remember. Just sometimes people get nauseous from it, so always take it with food. So, throw down something so that way you don't get nauseous. And then the more important thing is if you miss 2 or 3 pills. If you miss 2 pills, if you miss 3 pills, then you are not necessarily covered in terms of your birth control, because your egg could pop out. Ovulation could occur. And if ovulation can occur, then sperm can meet the egg. If you haven't had sex in the past 5 days, no worry.
Whatever.
If you've had sex in the past 5 days, sperm can live for 5 days. And so if the egg pops out because you missed 3 days and the sperm is still there, that really hardy sperm, then you could end up pregnant. And so if you missed 3 days in a row and had sex in the past 5 days, you will want to consider emergency contraception. And we want people to know, you can Google our emergency contraception video, our blog, but bottom line, there are 4 different types of emergency contraception. The copper IUD is the most effective, but it is an invasive procedure. The second most effective is Ella, which is prescription only. And at Pandia Health, we always offer you a prescription of Ella ahead of time. So that way you can just have it sitting in the corner in case you forgot 3 days in a row. Or if, God forbid, one of your friends gets sexually assaulted, you'd be like, here you go. Prevent unplanned pregnancy
right now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so you want, for emergency contraception, to use whatever method as soon as possible. If the condom pops at 3 a.m., medicine in your mouth 3:10, assuming you weren't using anything else. But if you miss 3 days in a row, take it. If you are 5 days out from your contraceptive accident, then none of those methods will work. And then there's Plan B, and it's generics. And the key to know with that is if you have a body mass index of 26 or greater, Plan B and its generics is not going to work for you at all. You could theoretically double up, but again, why do something that's like iffy and don't know when you can use Ella? And Ella, under the Affordable Care Act, if somebody prescribes it, should be no copay, no deductible.
Sure. Okay. That's really great to know, because it would have been nice to know in times when myself and people I know had to go and get the Plan B, and it's just a traumatic experience in and of itself. And even if it was not after a sexual assault, it's still traumatic because you have to go. It's usually in that glass container.
The walk of shame, right? You get it because something
shame.
bad happened.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be, because you're doing the responsible thing, but there's just that stigma. And I was thinking about it too, and I've been seeing these videos of people talking about how they're not afraid to get the COVID vaccine because they've done so many worse things to your body. And I was thinking, like, if you've taken Plan B, that's a lot of hormones. Like, you're fine with the vaccine. You'll be fine. Yeah. So no, that's really great to know that it's an option, but you can just have that
ahead of
prescribed
time
version
and mailed to you, and we allow our customers choice. You can choose Plan B if you want. Just, I wouldn't recommend it. If it were me or my daughter, I would get the prescription one, which is free under the Affordable Care Act. If you don't have insurance, there is a price difference. It's $20 for Plan B, and it's generics. Mainly it's generics. And for Ella, unfortunately, there is no generic. So I believe it's either $40 or $50 on our platform. Okay. But again, better $40 or $50 than pregnant.
I 100%. And the fees that come with that. No, that's really great. And I think that's so important for people to know. So spread the word. So on a similar topic, I kind of just thought of this with the whole unplanned pregnancies. So if you're taking your birth control, and at Pandia Health, we promote optional skipping periods because you don't need to get a period every month. So say you're taking your birth control regularly and you and your partner are just with each other, so you're not using an additional form of contraception, but you have that fear of pregnancy. I feel like I've been talking to other women about this, and you're on birth control, but because you're not getting a period, you don't know if you're pregnant or not. Is there a way to kind of calm that anxiety? Are there other things you can do? Of course, the obvious is take a pregnancy test. But is there anything else, any other solutions? I figured I'd ask you. You're the expert.
Yeah. So I think the key is really just to be comfortable with what you're doing, and knowing what you're doing is actually better than having that week off. It's when you have that week off, that was built when the birth control pill was a much higher level. 110 micrograms. And now most birth control pills are 30, 35 micrograms. So you're at like 1/4 of the original dose, or 1/4 of the original dose. And so what they've seen on day 5, 6, or 7 of being off the birth control pill, some women have escape ovulation. So the egg's coming out. And so by you continuously keeping the hormones stable, you are continuously preventing unplanned pregnancy. And it's those people that drop it for 7 days. So if you're going to drop it, I wouldn't drop it more than 4 days. I would start the active pills on day 5. But the fact that you're continuing this is amazing. The factors that would scare me or put me at risk is if you're adding Sudafed, which kind of revs up your liver and chews up the hormones. What would scare me is if you have breakthrough bleeding. But again, if you're trying to go to no period, sometimes you just get to the point where you have breakthrough bleeding. But if you have breakthrough bleeding, then realize that, you might not necessarily be protected because you have breakthrough bleeding. Then sometimes the egg can pop out as well. But what I thought you were going to ask is if you're on continuous birth control and then you miss 3 days in a row, you're actually okay. It's like coming off and bleeding, but you have to have at least 3 weeks of active pills before you get the 3 days off. But if you've been on it for like 8 weeks and all of a sudden you forget for 3 days, that's your week of bleeding, right? And then just restart on day 5 or 6 of being off and count it as that. But if you've taken less than 3 weeks in a row of active pills, that's where the concern comes in. Or if you extend your placebo week, that is the worst. Because as I said, on day 5, 6, or 7, you've already risked ovulation. If you do 8, 9, 10, or 11, then that's even like worse.
Right. Yeah, that's really good to know. And that's great to know. All the more reason to not take the placebo week because you're protected for longer. That's really great. There's so many benefits to that. Again, we have lots of articles on it if you have more questions, but yeah, I love that. So it looks like we got a question. Someone asked, Marshall asked, does Plan B work the day of LH surge?
Yeah, so the day of LH surge is ovulation. And the main way that Plan B and its generics work is it surges progesterone and says, hey, she's pregnant. And your body's like, what? And if you're pregnant, there's no way the body wants to release another egg. I mean, we've never heard of pregnancies that were off by a month or a week or 3 weeks in terms of twinsies, right? Like that's just never happens. Because once there's something in the uterus, they don't let anything else in the uterus. But Marshall, you've hit exactly on when Plan B fails. Plan B fails if the egg's already out. And as I like to tell every person without a uterus, but also those with uteri, I totally get it. You never know when your period's going to happen, right? Like you get an idea, but so many times it's been thrown off. Like the more you stress, the farther out ovulation happens. And supposedly if you're more relaxed, then it will come more on time. But then also I've experienced, I'm a 35-day woman, but if I hang out with a 28-day woman or a room full of 28-day women, then I sync with them. And then my ovulation comes faster. And so that's why we say take the medication as soon as because you don't know where the woman is in ovulation. And if she's already ovulated and you use Plan B and its generics, probably not going to work. If she's already ovulated, the Ella might work because it's an anti-progesterone, and then the copper IUD will definitely work. So the copper IUD is the one that works with the same efficacy throughout the 5 days after your oopsie. And the reason why is that the copper ions are just like, I think of them as lasers. Pew, 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 just like toxic to everything in its radius. And so it's killing the sperm, killing the ovum. And so anything in the 5 days is just like, bleh, like shooting them all with lasers. Whereas the Plan B is a high dose of hormone that says she's pregnant, don't pop out an egg. But if the egg's already out, cat's out of the bag. It does kind of maybe slow down sperm movement. It may cause the cervical mucus to turn into cement. But when a man ejaculates, it's, I believe, 200 to 500,000 sperm. And so if you're taking it after, then how much of it already gotten through the cervix when you cause this change in the mucus, So again, use Ella, use it as soon as possible. And if you know ovulation, if you're 14 days after the first day of your period, that is the highest risk for ovulation and pregnancy. On that day is not the day to not be good with your birth control. That is the day you want to use condoms plus a hormonal method. And then just, I think that condoms should always be used. I've been married for, we had a 25th anniversary, 25 plus years, and then we were dating 8 years before that. And we theoretically, no one's had any other partners, but we use condoms because as a feminist, I don't want to leak sperm for 24 hours. And so, one, just assume everybody you have sex with has every STI under the sun. Know that we don't have any commercially available tests for HPV, which is the number in men, in those with penises. It's the number one sexually transmitted infection, and there is no commercially available test for it in those with penises. So even if they show you this STD app and it says, I don't have any STIs, the ones we test, we don't test HPV.
Sure. And then on the same note, Marshall also asked how long it takes for the copper IUD to work. Thank you for all the questions, by the way. That's a very good one.
Yes, we love questions. The day before the egg release, Plan B and its generic should work. As we mentioned, it says she's pregnant. Don't let out an egg. Ella works better because it just has a better mechanism. It's more efficacious at every time point. And then for how long does it take a copper IUD to work? It works immediately. But if you put it in and it fell out a day later, again, the sperm could sit around for 4 days. And if an egg were to pop out and the sperm were to get there, it theoretically could have an effect. I would leave, in general, I'm not a fan of the copper IUD because the two main side effects is more blood, more pain, more cramps. But for some women, it's perfectly fine. It's just, other women's, it may not be. But for emergency contraception, it's 99.9999999% effective. And you just have to leave it in for 5 days, maybe a week just to be safe, maybe a whole month. Again, if I or my daughter were sexually assaulted and it was an issue, I would go with the copper IUD because I would want a 0.00001% chance of being impregnated by my rapist.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's really good to know. Okay. So 5 days. So you keep it in and then you can take it out. Cool.
And keep it in and have birth control for 10 years or up to 10 years. It's reversible at any time.
Oh, okay. So you can just have it in. Oh, nice. Okay. So many new things. So the last topic we're going to go over tonight, super relevant to the time with the holidays and everything, is weight gain. So in terms of birth control, I know last week we talked a little bit about birth control and weight gain. So opposingly, on the other hand, there's so is there a birth control that leads to weight loss that you know of?
Yeah, I'm just going to recite the study that if you have 100 women on the birth control pill and 100 women not on the birth control pill, the 100 women on the birth control pill will have, on average, a pound lower in weight. And it's not like a pound a week, a pound a month, a pound a year. It's just a pound total. And the reason why is the women not on the pill, their hormones are fluctuating up and down, up and down. And those of us who've had periods know that with the up and down, we also have munchies. With the up and down, we also have swelling or edema, right? We have water retention because when you're getting ready for pregnancy, you need more blood in your system to feed everything that's about to happen and grow in you. But over here, you just meh. And so there isn't this up and down, up and down. However, there is, I also always want to emphasize 40 different birth control pills, 8 different progesterones, and each person with a uterus responds differently to every different hormone. Most of the time, 95%, it's fine, but 5% will notice munchies, or oddly enough, 5% will notice they have decreased appetite. But I would say that's rare, more munchies, less decreased appetite. And then there is one particular progesterone, drospirenone. It's the progesterone that's in Yasmin, generic, Ciada, I think it's also called, etc. And that one has a diuretic effect. So diuretic means makes you pee. And so that one could make you pee an extra pound. And then other people, again, might pee 3 pounds. Somebody might pee no pounds, And so when I prescribe that, I try to refrain from prescribing that because oftentimes young people don't drink enough water. So if you don't drink enough water and the pill makes you pee like crazy, then you will get a headache because you don't have the blood running to your head, and your body's solution is like, well, if I have her faint, then the blood will get to the head. And so particularly teenagers, young adults who are in school, have nasty bathrooms, don't have time to drink water and pee because you got to get to class or your work and you need to get work done. I ask the patients, can you drink 8 glasses of water? And if you can't drink 8 glasses of water, then I don't recommend this method for you. And also, if you don't have liquid in your body, then your blood is maybe thicker and greater risk of blood clot. So those are so Yaz or Yasmin may be a consideration if you drink a ton of water and for some reason you want to see if it helps with the bloating effect. But for most people, most birth control pills are fine.
Sure. Yeah. And that's also a good thing that you mentioned that there's 40 different types. So say you are having a problem, whether it relates to your weight or just anything in general, you can always switch. You're not doomed from birth control.
It's really important to know what is the level of estrogen. There's usually 2 levels, sometimes 3. And then what is the progesterone? That is really important. And so people start learning the terminology because I see people and they're like, I'm on Mylan. And I was like, that is not a drug. That is a drug company. That's like telling me you're on Procter and Gamble or that you're eating, something made by Nabisco. That doesn't help me. I need to know the exact thing that you're on so that I can help you.
Sure. Yeah. And then to just kind of like wrap it up in terms of just like weight loss tips in general. I know you're not that's not necessarily your specialty, but you are a doctor. So I'm a personal trainer.
It is actually one of my specialties.
Wow, okay, public health, that makes sense.
Stanford's weight clinic. And so, and I'm also, a general practitioner for adolescents and young adults. So I absolutely address the weight issue.
Sure. All right. I'm so sorry. I didn't know all of that, but no, that makes total sense. Public health, naturally. So in terms of weight loss, I guess not necessarily related to the birth control pill, but just in general. And first of all, I also just want to emphasize that if you've gained weight during this time, like that's okay. It's natural. It's such a stressful time. And especially in women, I feel like it tends to fluctuate so much with your emotions. And also you might not have access to the same healthy foods that you were eating, especially at the beginning of quarantine when everyone was just like stocking up. So weight gain is okay. I'm a personal trainer, so I tell my clients that. But yeah, so in general, any weight loss tips and I guess kind of like stress managing tips, because they go hand in hand. If you have any that you'd like to share to kind of close this out, that would be great.
Yeah. So I think it's really important that people know about the plate model. So what you want to do is envision every meal you eat on a plate. And half of it needs to be fruits and vegetables, and a quarter of it maximum carbohydrates, and a quarter of it minimum protein. And if you can't make half of your meal fruits and vegetables, then you leave half of your plate empty. But ideally, you should put the fruits and vegetables in it. And then the carbohydrate part, I think most of us, when we get one of these plates that look like that, we're like, rice. And then we put a little meat and a little fruits and vegetables on top, right? And that is the wrong portion. So the other kind of flip way to look at it is as much protein as you have is as much carb you can have. So when we eat dinner, we'll have, rice and fish. And I'll say you can have as much rice as you ate fish. And then with pasta, that's almost always the wrong ratio of carbs. So you either need to take the amount of pasta you have and double it with vegetables and match it with meat. So you have this much noodles, you have to have this much chicken, fish, or beef, to equal the two. And mainly it's just kind of, cutting down on your carbs. And weight loss I've seen is 95% what you eat and 5% exercise. And certainly if you haven't changed what you've eaten and everything's been the same and your only thing different is exercise, then yes, please add exercise.
Yes.
But as you mentioned, for a lot of people, food is love. And I try to say food is not love. Time and money is love. So don't comfort yourself with food, but comfort yourself with exercise, comfort yourself with new clothes, comfort yourself with music. And then in terms of like video games has become a huge thing for a lot of people. There are active video games. So I like Ring Fit. I like Just Dance. I like Wii Fit. There's Fruit Ninja. There's Pokemon Go for old school people on a phone walking around the neighborhood, you know. And so if you can make your video game physically active, or I suggested to one mom, your kid can play as much Minecraft or first person shoot 'em up as long as they're on a bike the whole time. So they can be biking and playing, but they cannot just be playing. There's got to be lower body, or even just having a yoga ball and like bouncing on the yoga ball on with your core, you know, while you're playing your video games, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
Watching Netflix, like you can, anything above 2 hours of video that's not for school or work, do it on a yoga ball, do it while running in place, doing while dancing, you know, just anytime you can get extra movement in. Maybe this next podcast we'll do all doing micro crunches.
I love that.
We don't want to be crazy, but you get the idea.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I always tell people too that movement in general, as long as you're not injured, is better than no movement. So find something that you enjoy. And yeah, if that is like Just Dance, go for it. That's amazing. And actually, one positive thing I think that quarantine did bring out was there are so many free online things that you can find on YouTube. There are a lot of people doing discounted classes. Shameless plug to myself. I'm doing online discounted classes. And yeah, so reach out to your friends. My sister and I will sometimes just do a Zoom workout. And so it's like you're not by yourself, because it's hard to hold yourself accountable for sure. But I know sometimes you don't have the means to then buy a personal trainer or have a personal trainer. So yeah, check it out online. There are so many great people. Definitely find someone who's certified though. There are a lot of things that can be a little toxic, but yeah, that's what a lot of people I know have been doing, and they've been getting into exercise, which is awesome. So yeah, find something that you love and then go for it. But again, you can't outrun a poor diet. So it's both things. It's hard. It's hard to balance. And right now, health in general, I feel like should kind of be the top priority, but nutrition and fitness is a huge part of it too. For sure.
Yeah.
You want to have a healthy immune system.
Exactly. If you have diabetes or heart disease or obesity, you are at greater risk of having negative consequences from COVID. And, you know, don't beat yourself up on it. But we had some parents, they're like, why? I don't want to counsel some doctors. I'm on, you know, Twitter, med Twitter, and they're like, why? I don't feel like counseling these families on withholding juice when there's so much other stuff going on in their lives right now. And I was like, but you could dilute the juice, you know, like just
100%.
Risk reduction. Doesn't have to be risk elimination. And it's not about guilt. It's just now is not the time to stop being healthy.
Right.
And we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I envision going to the beach, and we're going to have a real summer, hopefully by June, if everybody gets vaccinated, right? And so get ready, you know, for that. But just in general, be healthy. It's New Year. And it's an opportunity to make new resolutions. And also, while in quarantine, you can try things, you know, like making periods optional.
Yes, making periods optional. Yeah, so rounding it all back, definitely check out our website. I think some key takeaways, because I know we covered quite a lot of topics. So if you're overwhelmed, don't worry. So my key takeaways, and then I'll let you say yours. So here's what I got. So in terms of birth control and SCOTUS, things are still kind of up in the air. We don't think the Affordable Care Act will be reversed. However, if you're thinking about getting an IUD, do it now. And definitely think about consulting with your doctor or getting services through Pansia Health. There are, I think, are we at 9 states now that you can get?
We are at 6 states, and we're going to launch a couple more in January.
Yes, very exciting. So be on the lookout for that. $20 online consult. Right now you can get it for free, actually. So
if you're a cash patient and doing a subscription.
Yes. So not everyone, but you can. So yay. And so that's the first thing. Second thing, in terms of missing a day of birth control, take it as soon as possible. And if you've missed 3 days, if you haven't had the 3 weeks prior of your active pills, you could get pregnant. So use the second method of protection if you do plan on having sex. And there are multiple emergency contraception that you
if you had sex in the prior 5 days.
Yes. And if you didn't have sex, then that's okay too. Totally fine. And then the last thing in terms of birth control and weight loss, birth control typically, there haven't been studies that show its correlation with weight gain or weight loss. But that being said, if you do notice any changes to your body and you feel uncomfortable, you can get a new prescription. And yeah, stay healthy and stay happy in general. And that will kind of help to keep your weight at bay, unless you have a certain hormonal issue, but that's a whole separate issue. So yeah, those are my key takeaways. Do you have anything else? I was just trying to summarize everything.
Yeah, no, I think that was a great summary. I just want to put it out there that, Pandia Health is expert care by expert doctors. And we are the only doctor-led, women-founded, women-led company out there. So I'm hoping this next year will be an amazing year and it will be a great year for women. So please spread the word about Pandia Health.
Yes, the future is female. This is such a great thing. Tell your friends and yeah, just spread the word. This is a really great opportunity for you to get services that are so convenient, especially in these times when you don't want to have to go to the pharmacy to pick up your pills. You don't want that unnecessary trip. So yeah, very exciting. Well, thank you so much for co-hosting with me. This was really great. I always learned so much. And as always, if you have any questions, if you're watching this now or at a later date, you can just leave them in the comments below. Someone will get to them, or you can check out our website. We have a whole FAQ page. We have a blog with pretty much every reproductive health topic, which is amazing. We have expert doctors on our staff. It's not just random people writing articles. Everyone is educated, which is great. And yeah, other than that, happy holidays, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back soon.
See you next week.
Yes, have a good one.
Bye.